Another style is actually a picking style, and I told you before I don't use a pick, so I use my fingers in this, and that's if you were to put a little bit of chorus on there. And what I do is called a stutter funk, and I mute the string. So if I'm playing, all right, so what I'm doing is basically muting the string here and taking my fingers and using the picking or the plectrum. So I showed you that before. And that also works in a lot of the musics that I'm playing now in terms of when I'm playing, say, for instance, on a funk gig that's not quite R&B. So you'd have a And what I do also a lot of is I play harmonic chords to give the effect of almost a piano or a guitar, especially if the guitar player is soloing. In the case of Stanley Jordan, who you will see later in this video, he tends to dominate all of those things by playing both patterns. But if he so chooses to go off on a solo, I'm able to cover the chords. So I'll demonstrate that again with a little bit more chorus. And the way that's played is that pretend he's soloing, I would go more. You can hear those chords. Now, that means that the soloist is not missing anything in the bottom, whereas if I were to just play it, it's a bit empty, which is sometimes okay, all right? But when I add the harmonic, that gives him a lot more excitement to go off of. The last style I get called to play sometimes is, especially in jingles, they're very simple styles. And more or less, you can take a simple line, but if you have the groove, and I told you the groove is the most important thing, you can make the most simplest thing actually talk. So I take all the effects off, no effects, and let's just say you want to play. That's a simple line. Apply the 16th note thing. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Put in your brain, and you have. So you're taking basically a simple line and making it into something. Now, if you take the James Jamerson thing, here's another thing. You can also go. So, what I'm trying to say to you in summation, all the different styles doesn't mean that you're trading off or you're selling out on one thing, you're only adding to your vocabulary. So I would recommend that you all listen to everything. Listen to your favorite guitar players, bass players, and heroes, and once you've actually taken that in, forget it. And what I mean is forget it, don't try to emulate, come out with it your way, but take all the styles. Now we come to the part of what I call FX, or special effects. In my band, Out of Control, I spend a lot of time doing the lead vocals. So I set up what is known as actually a pedal board. And it's a homemade pedal board, but it's very compacted for me to have easy touch to it. And I don't have to really look at the effects while I'm singing, because I'm mostly in the mic. So first, there have been a lot of enhancements and advancements in the bass guitar itself, both technically and sonically. So what we've done is, in the past, mostly guitar players and keyboard players used effects like wah-wahs and vibroluxes and things like that on their instruments, and the bass was pretty much straight and flat. Today now, the bass guitar has been involved with special effects to create different sounds. You want to alter the sound of your instrument while not exactly leaving what it is. The timbre is bass, but you want to add certain things. The way I use my special effects, or stomp boxes, or whatever you want to call them, I use them like seasoning. If you're making a plate of spaghetti, you wouldn't just put a whole bunch of oregano and keep pouring it. What I do is I season it. I put a little bit of wah, that's enough, a little bit of octavir, a little bit of this, and in the end, hopefully the piece of music, I've painted it. Very much like Picasso, you put a little green, a little orange, a little gray. So I will show you what these effects are that I use on the floor, and I have a great deal more in my rack. But I've chosen these effects because I don't like to depend on them. This is important. If you become the wah-wah king, which is okay, but you can't play your instrument without it, then I think you need to rethink this. This is only an addition to. This is important, I'll repeat it. These effects should add to your playing, not be your playing. Let's start. First, this colorful device here is a Morley wah-wah pedal. And basically we call it the Whoppin'. And why they call it that is because if you've been watching throughout the video, I have very colorful basses. And we call them the weapons. It's just a slang. So they decided to call this a Whoppin' and put a peace sign on it. This wah-wah pedal has a bit of a lighter tone. So when you wah, it has a wider band, which means it goes wah and closes. Some wahs, just like the Vox, or actually the Crybaby, are shorter and they're better for guitar. So for the bass guitar, I choose the Morley Whoppin', or I call it the wah pedal. So this one has a switch, and if you notice, the lights go on, and this dials in just how much wah you want. So if you're in this position, you have almost no wah, you have dry bass. And of course, in this position, it's all wah-wah. It's totally what we call wet. In my setup, I tend to use almost all wet, but I want a little bit more dry. So this switch kicks it in. This Morley has no button. And what it does is the minute you step on it, it activates it. Now, if you can see the lights on it, it's right here. Notice when I touch it, it's on. When I let it go, it's off. So if I just want to do, like I told you, season a song, I come over, step on it, do what I have to do, and it's off. So this is more of an instantaneous, and also the chip in here is a lot deeper than this one, so I have two different tones. Because a lot of times I'm hearing different things and I want instantaneously. It's a very short sound. Okay, that basically has what it is, and you can't really alter it. It's the chip inside. Hence, when I'm playing funk, I'll just step on it. And what it does is it adds to my actual plectrum in funk. So, all right. In comparison, the Morley over here has a complete different tone, and once again, no switch. So I don't have to worry about it. Listen to the tone. It sounds more rounder. It's a deeper tone. So hence, when I want to play a different sort of groove, it accentuates my harmonics, it accentuates the low notes. So not only is it good for not having the button, but it also gives me more of a wah. Next to here is what is known as the whammy pedal. This little toy I really like because what it does is on a bass guitar, if you were to put a whammy bar on it, it would take the bass completely out of tune and maybe even break strings. So what this does is in this position, in the black, it takes the bass up 1 octave, or it takes the bass up 2 octaves, which you heard me demonstrating in the beginning of the video when the bass was screaming and screeching up there. And it gives you more of a guitar-esque type feel to the bass. When you go back this direction, you get more of a chorus. So it's a multifaceted pedal. You can do many things with it. And over here, of course, it's a pitch shifter, which you can play in fifths, fourths, and do like a lot of different things, incidentally, that are very popular with grunge bands and one of my favorite bands, King's X, and groups like that. My trusty whammy. In this position, I told you it played pitch shifts.